What's going on, guys? Hope you're good. So after 3 weeks, approximately 3 weeks, I've finally been able to resolve my PPC problem. And now this has wasted a lot of time for myself and it's been quite frustrating. I kind of just left it in hope that it would fix itself, but it never did. And I was kind of set back even more by the useless answers I was getting from seller support. So this video really is going to be beneficial. So essentially I've had a big PPC issue and I knew exactly why this was. Straight away. I just didn't know what I was doing to cause it. So none of my sponsored advertisements were turning up on any of the first 20 pages, and so there was clearly a low visibility of my product, and so in turn it was getting very low impressions, very low clicks, and so obviously very low sales. And so if you can see my auto campaign here, which was kind of like about 15 days, it did go on for a little bit longer than this, but you can see that there was only 10 sales from a 15-day period. Now that was obviously a waste of money, because when you're paying for PPC, you're obviously paying to get some sales velocity. Now 10 sales spread across 15 days is a complete waste of time, money, and actual inventory, because there's no velocity there, especially when competitors are getting over that in a single day. So that's where I'm coming from when I say I've wasted PPC money, because it was not effective. So obviously I browsed YouTube looking for some solutions, and I was greeted with all the usual ones that you see online: raise your bid, raise your budget. And I did this. I raised it to an unrealistic amounts, like £30 per click. No seller is ever going to pay that much for a click. And I even set my budget to £500, and nothing would change. I wouldn't get any spend. I would get a little bit of spend, but my budget wouldn't spend nowhere near the amount I would want it to. I wasn't getting anywhere near the amount of impressions that I should have been getting, and so obviously very low clicks, very low sales. I also tried lowering my price and I tried increasing my reviews, but nothing would work, nothing would change this problem. So then I went on to try a manual, and I thought maybe if I try a manual campaign, maybe this will work. And although it would say that my manual campaign was delivering, it would spend nothing of this. So it wouldn't even spend a little bit like it would for my auto. It would spend nothing, even though I knew I was outbidding everybody else. So I reluctantly contacted Amazon because, I was left with no choice. I reluctantly did this because you usually do not get the best responses from Amazon. Their support isn't English. They're based in India. And yeah, their initial reply to me stuck to form. It was a really bad reply, and it wasn't of much use at all. So firstly, they said because I was running an auto campaign and a manual campaign along side by side to each other, that was the reason why my campaigns weren't really effective. They were saying they were competing against each other, which meant that it wasn't fully optimized, which I knew was bullshit, because that didn't explain why my auto campaign wasn't being spent in the first place. So eventually, after going back and forth with Amazon support, an agent suggested something that I hadn't heard from anyone else before. They compared my browsing path to a competitor's and all my other competitors. And if you don't know what a browsing path is, so if I move myself, actually, you could probably see it. Okay, so that's a browsing path here. And that is essentially one of the browsing paths for a hammock. So essentially, long story short, my product was in the wrong browsing path than it should have been, and this caused a problem. So my advertisements, my auto campaign was actually functioning, it was actually working, but it was coming up as sponsored within a certain category in Amazon. So for example, if we have a hammock, this is the sponsored ad for a hammock in all departments, as you can see. What was happening with my product was that it was appearing as sponsored within categories like this product here. Now that is obviously of no use, because who the fuck shops searching in categories? No one does that. So that explained why I was getting so low impressions, so obviously low clicks, low sales, was because my ads were just appearing within categories which nobody ever shops on. So essentially, after researching a little bit more into this issue, I found that the reason why this was happening was because when I was setting up my product listing, I didn't put it in the same category as other competitors that have been on Amazon for longer than me, and so they have a longer history on Amazon. So I'm not sure about the full technicalities of it, but essentially what I've gathered from this is that you got to put your product in the same category as your main competitors. Otherwise, this issue may occur. Now, this obviously then explained why I couldn't find my sponsored ad on any of the first 20 pages, because I was looking on the first 20 pages for, say, all departments, when I was in fact appearing, say, within a category. So how do you go about fixing this / finding out your best category from the start, so you don't have to make this mistake and waste your time? So seller support, they linked me with this, and I'll leave the link for this in the description. So essentially, guys, what you want to do is just say search your product in this search tool, and then this will give you the recommended browse path. So you want to go with the first one that appears, because as you can see, there are many different browsing paths. So you have loads here you have 4 there for hammocks. What you want to do is go with the first one, because this is the one that's mostly suggested to you. Okay, so if you've not yet created your listing, then go ahead and do that. But if you have already put your product in a category and you're getting this problem, then I suppose then what you want to know is how do you change it, and I'm going to tell you that now. So what you want to do is contact Amazon. But first of all, you want to select the browsing path that you want to move into, because that's going to give you a node ID, which is here. So what I was then instructed to do was to contact Amazon seller support and create a case with the Amazon catalog team. So I wasn't exactly sure how to contact the catalog team, so I just contacted seller support as I would and requested for the catalog team, and I said that I'd been instructed to contact them in order to request to update my category and browsing node. Now the browsing node is here, as you can see, like I just highlighted. Okay, so once you've done that and they've responded to you, what I needed to do then was to simply send them my current classification path with your current node ID, which you can find by just selecting them, which they'll appear on the screen. And then you want to then say that you want to change it to the new one. So you can say for example, you wanted to change it to say this one, then you'd select it. Say for example, you wanted to switch then to this browsing path. Say for example, this was the one that everyone else was doing. So you'd copy and paste that along with the node ID, send that off to seller support. If your product does suit that category path, then they'll accept it. And they said that it would take up to 48 to 72 hours to fully update and index your product into these categories on all departments. Okay, so you can also change this through simply going on, I think it is editing the product description. I think I saw that you could do it through that way as well. And you can also request a product page or category change on the seller support. It does actually give an option for you to do that on seller support. But I kind of done all three. But what I would do is just contact seller support and get them to do it for you. That'll be a little bit easier, but just then know that it may take a little while for it to fully index. But eventually then, finally, my sponsored ads were then appearing on all departments on the top of the first page, and everything was fine. Now, this is something, like I said, I've never seen anyone on YouTube with this issue before. But it's a very simple issue to solve once you know what the problem is. So if you're running advertisements and you have very little impressions, very little clicks, you don't seem to find your sponsored ad anywhere on the first 20 pages in all departments, then you could have put your product in the wrong category by mistake. As you can see, it is a very easy thing to do, because you'd think, right, there's nothing wrong with putting my hammock in this category as opposed to that category. But it just so happens that it is an important thing to do. Get your category right. Like I said, go onto this tool, which I'll leave the link in the description for. Type in your product and just go by the first one that they give you, which will be on the top by here. So yeah, guys, I really do hope this helped at least a few of you if you do have this problem. If it did help, make sure you let me know in the comments and give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, because I'll be posting a whole lot more. So thanks for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.